What if everything we thought we knew about where we come from was incomplete? What if a single skeleton, buried for 9,000 years, held a secret that science still cannot explain? And what if that secret suggests we were never alone? Set up the mystery it started with a cave, remote, silent, a place untouched for thousands of years. Deep inside, beneath layers of earth and stone, they found her, a woman, ancient, perfectly still, but it wasn't her age that shocked researchers. It wasn't the way she was buried. It wasn't even the mystery of her death. It was something far more unsettling, her DNA, because when scientists finally decoded it, they didn't just discover something rare. They discovered something that didn't belong, something that didn't fit into any known human story, and that raised a terrifying question. If she doesn't belong to us, then who does she belong to? The expedition was never meant to be groundbreaking, just another survey, another routine exploration, a team of archaeologists working in a rugged, isolated region, searching for traces of early human life, stone tools, charcoal, fragments of bone, the usual signs, but caves have a way of keeping secrets, and this cave had been waiting. The entrance was narrow, easy to miss, covered by rock and vegetation. Inside, the air was cold, still heavy, as if time itself had stopped. Every step echoed, every movement felt intrusive, like they weren't supposed to be there. At first, they found nothing unusual, just sediment, dust, silence. But then something strange happened. One of the researchers noticed a pattern on the ground, small stones, arranged, not scattered, placed. That's when everything changed. Because nature doesn't arrange stones like that. People do. The team began to dig, slowly, carefully, brushing away centuries, layer by layer, and then they found her. The discovery, her skull emerged first, partially buried, fragile, but intact. The team froze. Moments like this are rare. You don't rush them. You don't breathe too loudly. You just observe. As they uncovered more of her body, a picture began to form. She was lying on her side, her knees slightly bent, her arms positioned close to her chest, almost as if she had been placed there with intention. This was not a random burial. This was deliberate. Someone cared enough to lay her to rest properly, and that meant something. Because 9,000 years ago, life was harsh, unpredictable. Survival came first, yet someone took the time to honor her. Who was she? They continued the excavation. Every bone was preserved. No signs of struggle, no visible trauma, no indication of violence. She was young, around 20 to 25 years old, strong bones, healthy structure, no signs of malnutrition. This wasn't someone who lived on the edge of survival. This was someone who belonged. But belonged where? The first questions back at the lab, real investigation began. Samples were taken, bone fragments, teeth, tiny pieces of her genetic code, waiting to be read. DNA extraction is delicate. Ancient DNA, even more so. Time damages it, breaks it down, contaminates it. But sometimes, if conditions are right, survives. And in her case, survived remarkably well, which meant one thing. They had a chance to understand who she was. The plan was simple. Deschwenzit her DNA, compare it to known populations, pill her within the human family tree. Easy, routine, expected. But then something strange happened. The first shock, when the first results came in, because team didn't celebrate, they didn't even speak, because nothing made sense. Her DNA didn't match the region. It didn't match nearby ancient populations. It didn't match expected migration patterns. At first, they assumed contamination, modern DNA mixed in. a common issue, so they ran the tests again, carefully, cleanly, with strict controls. Same result, no match. They checked again and again. Still nothing. This wasn't contamination. This wasn't an error. This was real, and it was a problem. The puzzle deepens. This is where the story changes. Because now, they weren't just studying a skeleton, they were facing a mystery. Human DNA follows patterns. We evolve. We migrate, we mix, we leave traces. Even the oldest humans can be placed somewhere on the tree. But her DNA didn't follow those rules. It didn't connect. It floated. Unencored. The team expanded their analysis. They compared her genome to thousands of ancient samples across continents, across timelines, looking for even the smallest link. But there was nothing. No lineage, no relatives, no origin. It was as if she came from a population that vanished completely. The strange markers. Then came the second shock. Hidden within her DNA were markers. Not unusual ones, not rare ones, impossible ones. Markers that didn't exist in any known human group. Some resembled traits found far away, thousands of kilometers from where she was found. Others had no match at all. And then something even stranger appeared. Certain segments of her DNA looked older. Not older in age, but older in origin. Fragments that suggested a split far earlier than expected. A divergence deep in the past, before known human groups separated, before recorded migrations, before history as we understand it. A dangerous idea. The team hesitated because what they were seeing didn't just challenge a theory, it challenged everything. Human evolution is supposed to be mapped clear, structured. We know about early humans, we know about Neanderthals, we know about Denisovans, we know where they lived, when they lived, how they interacted. But her DNA didn't fit into any of those categories, which raised a dangerous possibility. What if she wasn't part of any known human group? What if there was something missing, something we haven't discovered yet? The silence in the data. They searched deeper. Her mitochondrial DNA, which traces maternal lineage, showed patterns never recorded before. Her ancestry could not be mapped. Her genetic history was a blank space. And yet, she existed. She lived, she breathed, she walked this earth. So how can someone exist without a history? The unanswered questions. The team began to ask harder questions. Where did she come from? Who were her people? Why is there no trace of them? Did they migrate? Did they isolate themselves? Did they disappear? Or were they never known to begin with? The turning point, and then something happened. That made everything worse. Inside her genome, they found signs of interbreeding, but not with any known group. Not with Neanderthals, not with Denisovans, not with early modern humans. Something else. Something unknown. This discovery changed everything, because now they weren't just missing a population. They were missing an entire interaction, a hidden connection, a forgotten chapter. The fear behind the discovery. At this point, investigations slowed. Not because they lacked data, but because they had too much. And none of it made sense. Every answer created more questions. Every clue led to a dead end. It was like trying to solve a puzzle with pieces that didn't belong. The final clue, and then they found it. A single genetic marker. Small, easy to overlook, but impossible to explain. It didn't match any known human DNA. Not rare, not unusual. Impossible. The kind of marker that shouldn't exist. Anywhere. At any time. And when they realized what it meant, everything stopped. Cliffhanger ending the lab went silent. No one moved, no one spoke, because if this marker was real, then her DNA wasn't just unusual. It was something else entirely. Something outside everything we understand. Which leaves one final question. If she doesn't belong to any known human lineage, then who was she? And more importantly, are there others like her, still hidden, waiting to be found? A woman buried in silence for 9,000 years, discovered deep inside a forgotten cave. At first, nothing unusual, until they tested her DNA. No match, no lineage, no place in human history, and then a genetic marker that should not exist. Everything we thought we knew started to break. Deep investigation, the room felt different now, heavier, quieter. Like everyone understood, they were standing on the edge of something dangerous. Because this wasn't just a discovery anymore, this was a contradiction. So they went deeper. The first step, reconstruction. Not partial analysis, not comparisons, the full genome, every fragment, every sequence, pieced together. It took months, careful work, slow progress. Ancient DNA is fragile. It breaks, it degrades, it lies. But piece by piece, her genetic code came together. And when it did, they saw it clearly. This wasn't random. Her DNA wasn't damaged noise. It was structured, organized, consistent. Which meant one thing. She was exactly what she appeared to be. Real. And whatever her origin was real too. This is where the story changes, because now the question wasn't, is this an error? The question became, how is this possible? The pattern no one expected. They went back to the strange segments, the ones that didn't match, the ones that felt older. This time they looked at them differently. Not as anomalies, but as signals. And then they saw it. A pattern. These segments weren't scattered randomly. They followed a structure, a repetition, like inheritance, passed down generation after generation. Which means she didn't just have these genes. She inherited them from parents, from ancestors, from a lineage. And that changes everything. Because if she had ancestors, then there were others, people like her. A population, a group that lived, survived, existed, and yet left no trace. The search expands now, the mission changed. They weren't studying one individual anymore. They were searching for a lost population. So they expanded the data. Old samples, forgotten collections, bones that had been studied decades ago with outdated technology. They retested everything, thousands of samples from different regions, different time periods, looking for one thing, a match, even a partial one. And for a long time, there was nothing. Silence. Until something appeared. The second discovery, it wasn't obvious, just a fragment, a small overlap. From another ancient sample, different location, thousands of kilometers away, different time, separated by centuries, but the same strange markers. Not identical, but similar enough. Enough to confirm one thing. She wasn't alone. There were others, hidden in the past, misidentified, overlooked, because no one knew what they were looking at. Until now. A lost lineage now, a theory began to form. Carefully, cautiously, because what they were suggesting was massive. What if there was a human population that existed alongside known groups, but remained isolated, no interaction, no mixing, hidden, for thousands of years, living in small pockets, unknown, and then disappeared. No clear artifacts, no distinct tools, no written record. Just fragments, just DNA. And one of those fragments was her. The timeline problem, but there was a problem. A big one. The timeline didn't make sense. The older DNA segments suggested a split far earlier than her lifetime. Much earlier, possibly tens of thousands of years earlier, which means her lineage had been separate for a very long time, long enough to evolve differently, long enough to become something unique. And yet, there was no clear evidence of this group, no fossils, no settlements, nothing. The marker revisited, so they went back to the most confusing part, the marker, the one that shouldn't exist. This time, they compared it differently, not just to humans, but to everything. Ancient hominins, early ancestors, deep evolutionary branches, and then they found something, not a match, but a resemblance. A distant echo of a lineage thought to be extinct long before her time. This changed everything. The impossible possibility, what if that lineage never fully disappeared? What if a small group survived, isolated, hidden, evolving separately, avoiding contact, living in environments we haven't fully explored for thousands of years, until eventually they vanished, leaving behind almost nothing, except her. The big reveal this is the moment that shook everyone, because if this theory is true, then human history is incomplete. Not slightly wrong. Fundamentally incomplete. We didn't just miss a migration. We missed an entire branch. A group of humans, or human-like beings, who lived alongside us, and we never knew. Think about that. They could have seen us, watched us, lived near us, and we would have no record, no memory, no trace, except in DNA. The emotional impact this discovery doesn't just change science, it changes perspective. For centuries, we believed we understood our origins, that we could trace our roots, map our past, but this introduces uncertainty, gaps, mysteries we didn't know existed. It reminds us that history is fragile, incomplete, and sometimes wrong. Who were they? What did they look like? How did they live? Did they have language, culture, beliefs? Or were they something entirely different? And why did they disappear? Was it climate, disease, conflict, or something else we don't yet understand? A disturbing thought, and then a final question emerges. If they existed for thousands of years, hidden, unnoticed, then how many other groups have we missed? How many stories are still buried, waiting? Final thought ending the cave still exists. Quiet, unchanged, the woman remains, her bones a silent witness, but her DNA continues to speak, not with answers, but with questions, because somewhere in the vast timeline of human history, there are chapters we haven't read yet, stories we haven't discovered, and truths we may not be ready to face. So the next time we say, we know where we come from, remember her, the woman with no past, the DNA that doesn't belong, the mystery that refuses to be solved. Because maybe we're not just uncovering history, maybe we're rewriting it.